And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for this afternoon. David Shing is AOL's digital prophet. He spends most of his time watching the future take shape across the vast online landscape. The rest of the time, he spends talking to people about where things are headed and how we can get the most out of it. David spent most of his adult life in the digital world, and he's worked for companies both large and small, all creative. Before he took the position he holds now, he served as AOL's European head of media and marketing. You are in for such a treat today with David. He's engaging, he's funny, he's full of fresh ideas, and best of all, he tells you exactly what's on his mind. David believes you're all going to see that in a minute. David believes that we're all going to have to embrace change and that the winners are going to be the ones who take risks right now, today. The opportunities are incredible and the rewards are real, and David Shing is going to show us that way. After all, he is a prophet. So please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, David Shing.
Hey, look, it is amazing. Firstly, thank you, AAF, for having me. Secondly, whoever closed the lid on my laptop, thanks for that. That's awesome. Just 1 second. Really awesome. Yay. Hang on 1 second. Now, here's the thing. Fresh eyes from students winning awards, bloody amazing. Holy shit, what does it take to go back to be a kid again? That would be amazing for me, man. Let's do that. So hang on 1 second. We're almost there, I promise. Fat fingers, blah, blah. Slides. Yes. Okay. Hello, I'm David. How are you? Good. I'm glad there was no turkey, because otherwise you guys would be starting to fall asleep, and we can't have that. So here's the deal. Whoever came up with the idea of having this particular conference here, bless them, dude, because 24 hours ago, that was my view out of a car, charging to Oxford University before this. Oh, come on, please work. Yes, that. So that was what I woke up to. How absolutely amazing it is to be here this morning. It's fab. But what I want to do is actually talk about this, the connected human. So here's the deal. There's a thing that sort of happens most times when I speak. Most people don't want to ask questions. They just pull me aside and say, hey, dude, are we all clear? Are we all clear on what we think consumers are up to? The answer is absolutely no bloody way, because I think there's a massive amount of confusion. And the reality is this. I was at the Venice Biennale. That's the bag that everybody was walking around town with. So as much as we have all of these amazing things, we still don't know who the hell we are. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to spend about 35, 40 minutes with you, hopefully inspiring you about where I think things are headed, but we need to give it some context. Because here's the deal, man. I think the juxtaposition between people who are in the industry and people who are about to enter the industry is amazing. Because we've got this culture clash. I grew up in the industry like this, man. We had these 3-letter acronyms. The TLAs is my generation. We use these TLAs like this. FYI, which you guys know. This, I don't know if you know what this is. I use this in the office all the time. It's cover your ass. But the young generation, you little bastards, using this, aren't you? Oh, bless. YOLO. FOMO. Or whoever the person was who also texted that thing in there, which is, you know, my drinking friends have ad problems. I love that too. So this is definitely part of that, you little bastards. And then you've got this. Do you guys know what this is? Yeah, it's too long, didn't read. So these little bastards are using 4-letter acronyms to tell us to basically piss off, which I think is amazing. And here's what's happening. It's all about links versus publications. So let me give you some evidence of that. If you get it right, being a brand that produces content, it doesn't just compete with advertising, it competes with popular culture. Those little bits of gratification that we build out are actually very meaningful to consumers. And here's the deal. Creativity has to be redefined. I'm already seeing it in the eyes. When I look at the students out here today, it's amazing what you guys are up to. But from a publishing background, from a brand investment, this is what normally happens. When we go to launch something with a brand, we go for evergreen content. What's the sort of content that never expires? It's evergreen. It's always consistent. It's the easiest way. It's a path of least resistance for us. And what about seasonal content? How do you actually target the hearts and minds of people as they go through their day-to-day to try and figure out how to target them? That's seasonal content. You know that. But now brands want to own breaking news, the one-off experiences. So let me explain something for that. If I look at the breaking news experience, this is the first actual branded experience I saw when the birth of Prince George was last year. It's by Air New Zealand, travelled by Stalkso last year. What do you think about that? Good or bad? Not bad. What about Coke? So you saw Wendy Clark this morning open up. Kind of cute. We don't have it in the US, but it's coming. Starbucks. People seem to like that. I don't get the green grass bullshit, but everything else works for me. How about that? Oreo. We can't talk about brands owning breaking news without bringing the mighty Mondelez into the house. I think this is a little preconceived, a little obvious for me, and they got flamed in the blogosphere. People said, you know, you can't feed a baby cookies. I'm like, it's just an idea, you turds. So you've got that to contend with. And you've got Charmin toilet paper. Bless them, look at that. 1986 photoshopping. Wow, okay. I think the one that won was Play-Doh. And what I think is really amazing, though, isn't it cute? What is incredible is what happens with tentpole events. So television is really important. You heard that this morning with Carolyn. And what I think is incredible about television is that if you try and follow television live via social, it sucks. You get a stream of rubbish, you're like, I don't know what's going on, and suddenly, you're like, I'm very confused. So I wandered around to a friend's place because I haven't owned a TV for 15 years, turned on the telly, and this thing was happening. I'm like, oh, what the hell is this about? Why are we all talking about this? And I looked at it, I'm like, oh, get it, Pharrell. You guys know why he wore the hat? Vivienne Westwood designed it. In 1985, he sang a song called Buffalo Gals. Well, the guy who sang it was Malcolm McLaren, and he was being honored that night, but nobody remembered that because Arby's jumped on and said, hey, dude, can we have our hat back? So what I think is amazing is that you don't even have to invent the news. You can actually just be part of it. And then Pepsi jumped on and said, hey, dude, yeah, can they have their hat back? So it's just a matter of understanding that you need to actually be there at the right time, right place. And I'm calling it the brand attention curve. What typically happens with brands is this. They get very excited before something happens. At the tentpole event, it's extremely peaky. And then, boom, you treat people like a one-night stand. You don't hear from anybody. A classic example is like the Super Bowls. Lots and lots and lots of action. Then literally the next day, brands don't speak. But I think brands need to think about the attention curve a bit like this, because the calm and the chaos, the next is really important. It allows you to actually capture the hearts and minds of people when they're unexpected. And here's the good news. Digital is the only place you can actually own original news. You can't own it in TV, newspaper, print, radio. You just can't do it. It's too hard. But when it comes to digital, you have no obstacles. And here's what's also interesting. You need to embrace it because people live, communicate, entertain, and get information fundamentally differently today. So ideas have to come big, new, fast. Not because you, as a brand, are trying to expect it, because that's what the consumer's expectation is. And here's the deal, man. Here are topics I'm really comfortable talking about. And I sat back about 6 months ago, though, and said, oh, wow, every single one of these topics, I can find a company that now does that. So what I used to say things are in the future, they're actually now here, including this thing.
To climb at more than 5 meters a second. And it can cruise at over 100 kilometers per hour.
That thing is real. The Marlin Transport System from New Zealand. If you want to burn a great big bloody hole in your leg, I recommend you buy one of those things. But we're going to see more of those, because Lady Gaga just bought one of those, and she literally landed on her latest concert with that. That's where I'm from. If you're wondering about my accent, I should do a quick introduction. I'm from Australia. I'm not British, New Zealand, South African. I'm also from that town. That's the house I grew up in as a kid. This is my family of 1 to 10 kids. That's 12 people in a 2-bedroom house. That's a whole lot of therapy, guys. I'm still getting through. But it wasn't until I was 17 when I actually bought my first car that I felt freedom, independence, and self-expression. That's the gen I'm from. I'm also the first planker on the planet. But what's amazing is the kids are now born connected, aren't they? Did you know that 37% of children under the age of 2 can operate your tablets? Now, I don't have a car, I don't have kids, but I love this. It just fascinates me that they can use your tablets, and then they go to analog like newspaper or print, and they just don't get it. Can we watch that all day? Holy shit. So there's a switch that's come on. We find it really difficult to switch off. We're just one click away from our most inner personal thoughts, meaning personal expression is a new form of entertainment. I mean, the day after the Oscars, people are like, who won the Oscars, dude? I'm like, Samsung. You haven't seen the $1 billion photo? When you've got celebrities doing this selfification, and then we have other celebrities jumping in on other photobombing selfification, I think it's really interesting because that's part of the popular culture. But here's what's interesting. Is it about consumers consuming content? I actually think it's different. I actually think it's about this. The new generation of the creator. They're the critic and they're the curator of content. So that's the new. We have to figure out as brand ambassadors. And they're swarming to the bright lights. And there's many of them. They're not just 1 and 2 bright lights. There's bloody hundreds of bright lights you now have to try and target to. But here's the good news. Your audiences now have audiences. That's the real human network effect. Not ones and zeros, not connected internets. Humans connecting to humans, connecting to humans. The real network effect is something you can do as a brand. But understand, you are no longer the creator of content. We're shifting into creators of conversations because brands now have to talk back, which is a tough thing for some brands, but we need to get there. But let's also understand that context matters. Here's the deal. People make decisions emotionally, then they justify their purchases rationally. It doesn't matter whether it's a $5 bottle of water or a $50,000 car. That's just how we are as humans. I'll give you some sense of that. This is 6:30 in the morning in New York City. This is not a lineup for Samsung or Apple products or any of that rubbish. It's cronuts. So people will line up for croissant meat donut at 6:30 in the morning. By 8:30 when the store opens, Ansel sells out by 9. And what's incredible is it tells me that humans are idiots because we'll basically line up for anything. But our behaviors are being more and more influenced by our peers. Now, something you may not know, though, is the number of brands that people will physically or digitally refer to each other per year is really low. It's not what you think it is. With all these amplification spaces we've got to be able to brag, it's still low. You have 5 to 9 opportunities for people to brag about your brand. Now, here is what's interesting. There are more and more places and lights to swarm to because fragmentation is accelerating. So, how are we going to get there? I grew up in the world of information, which we're in now. We're plumb in the middle of the world of social. You've heard all about that this morning. And here's the reality, man. This is my all-time favorite social image. How good is that? If nothing else this lunchtime, my friends, I've given you that. But here's the deal. That really sums up the follower frenzy that we're currently in the middle of, right? But here's the thing. This whole land grab for likes, I think, is absolute rubbish. We have to think about other KPIs. You have to think about other ways to consider what your performance index is. Because back in the day, before we could be friends, you'd have to accept my friend request. That's the skin in the game. Accepting, accepting, accepting. Yes, yes, yes. Now you can like my shoes, my belt, my bag, my jacket. You can like the sum of the parts greater than the whole. And I think it's really diluted. But where it's going to go are new verbs. And they're coming at you, man. Want, purchase, desire, sympathize. Who wants to like somebody going to a funeral? Not me, dude. So there's all these new currencies coming to you. You need to determine the currency for the brand that you represent and how you'd like that to be verbalized. The one I love most is share. 70% of consumers shared something last month. And that share, in those, most of those links that has share, actually about 70% of those 70% have a link to content. So it's really important to understand that share is the action we really, really want. So this is social, interesting. This is KLM Airlines. They used to allow me to check into my flight by checking out somebody's Facebook or LinkedIn profile. Now, in the real world, we call that shit stalking. But what's also interesting, crazy, you've got this. This is country of Sweden. I love this. So these guys are so proud of the brand and the value you get out of their country that you can actually have the keys to the official Twitter account for a week. That's brand transparent. However, here's the deal, man. The world is completely overwhelming. We're up to 1,900 media messages per day. That is not slowing down. 250 of those are ads. And then it's completely underwhelming because you can't find what you're looking for. So what's fascinating to me, though, is that contributor to stress, the 6th largest today, is that fear of missing out. It's media overload. So you know when you get that fake vibration on your phone, you're like, God damn, is that a phone call? And your phone's over there on your desk? Man, this is what I'm talking about. So we have to think about things differently. But consumers' tastes are changing. That contrived in-your-face advertising we've been doing for centuries ain't working because consumers are changing. I think what you need to think about is your presence, your brand presence. Can you hold the attention of somebody? Because the more and more they interact with their phones, we heard this morning that people interact with their phones 100 times. If you're a digital native, it's 150 times, about once every 6 minutes. Because the reality is this, the attention we care about is this. The holding somebody's attention, that's the new currency, not click-through rate. Just because we could measure click-through doesn't mean we should have. The more and more we face a different screen, the more and more attention we're taking away. So that's the KPI I think we need. And digital behaviors are also changing. We have been in the game, in the creative space, of being an entertainer or information. That's what we do. The new, though, is this thing called brand utility. What does that mean? It means, can you be a brand of use? That's all it means because of this screen. This is the first screen. Don't call it the second or third screen. Please, God, call this the first screen. Nobody walked in here with a TV. So clearly this is the first screen. But people treat mobile like an infant. Every year, somebody's going to stand up here and say, this is the year of mobile. Oh, my God. Rubbish. Because in 1997, I could text message a Coca-Cola vending machine and interact with their products. You have to experiment differently. Little Colorado shout out here, I guess. But here's the deal, man. When it comes to, and here's why you have to do it, because this is the deal, man. They're banner ads on mobile experiences. We've basically taken desktop experiences and just jammed them on mobile and said, have at it. Rubbish. And we have these weird apps. On the left, that's my Starbucks app. By the time I fire that up, I live in New York City. It actually shows me a map of North America, thanks very much. I probably walk past 5 of them before it loads. And then on the right, that is an app I bought for $1.99, which is how long can I hold down my iPhone screen for? Are you kidding me? And it's absolutely rubbish. So where are the blue sky opportunities? They're here. But you have to understand that people are downloading fewer apps, spending more time, more money than the ones they have. The average number of apps people have on their phones is 41. The average we use is 5. And what's also fascinating is that consumers will only try your mobile experience once. So unlike desktop, desktop is about iteration, mobile is about surprise and delight. But here's the good news. About 80% of them are actually going to be your power users. It means they really, really care about your brand. So if you're able to surprise and delight them across mobile, then you're in for good shape. And here's where it becomes a total change. It's here. Marketing is no longer about awareness, it's then about advocacy. Because if you're a brand of use, and I'm actually using you as a utility, then I will be an advocate for your brand, which is totally different to advertising. Okay. Embrace always on, always with, always logged in. That's kind of the new mantra, really. But you always have to be relevant, which is not that simple. But when you're going to build things on the mobile experience, just keep them simple, because simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. This is Da Vinci's quote, not mine. I love that to bits. So every time you go to complicate something in mobile, just figure out it should be simpler. But why I love it as a marketer, there are 3 things that I love about mobile experiences. It's about location, location, location. If you're trying to target people between the ages of 18 and 27, they're the heaviest check-in culture. The when, where, and what they're doing is an extension of their social bragging right. It's really important to them. So I'm aware of what you're doing in the context of what you're doing it in, and it's also this new data that you guys can interrogate to say that's the value of location-based marketing. But we also have to consider this, solo mo. The industry has been talking about social, local, mobile targeting for a long time. So as we merchandise the checkout queue, people don't bother looking at that anymore, do they? Because as they walk along, they're like, oh, look at that. So what's fascinating for me is that that should not be the case. People still shop, the vast majority on the planet shop 8 miles from where they live. We don't just order stuff from Amazon and expect it to turn up from Idaho. It's not how we work. We want to interact with humans. However, we should call solo mo homo. And we should know that 68% of mobile minutes are performed in the home. I should have had more fun with this slide, but I want to keep this stuff G-rated, you know what I'm saying? Here's the deal, man. We've gone from this, sitting on the sofa, pointing remote control at TV for 25 years. That's the way we do it. We're hunched over the keyboard and mouse, bad backs, and that culture that we grew up in. We're back on the sofa doing this, but now we have a 10-inch tablet burning a hole in our crutch. That's the only difference. But why we dig it is this. They spend more than mobile users today, and they spend more than desktop users. Tablet users do. And they also convert faster, higher order value. So it's really important to understand that they also cross-shop. When you run TV ads, it gives me permission as a consumer to ignore you. Oh, ad, ripper. Go do something completely different. And they cross-shop heavily in these sectors. So that's something to consider when you're actually buying TV ads. You might want to cross-pollinate against those things. And we know that women rule the world, amen. But here's what's amazing. Men are currently using more mobile experiences in tablets than women are. So if you're trying to target blokes, I would go for a tablet period first. Augmented. So this has been around for a long time. It's been around 16, 17 years, but I still love Augmented because it can work independently to your brand. It's like your 4th dimension. So if you look at this independent target, you could move that independently to a tablet or mobile experience, and you could give them a totally different dimension to your brand. So if there's 100 people standing around that, we would get 100 different dimensions of that experience. It's very, very capable of the 4th dimension. How it helps retail is a bit like this. This is the Lego Digimirror. Check this out. You hold the Lego mirror in front of the product in front of the mirror, and it builds for you in front of your eyeballs. Fabulous. And if you're standing there with a 5-year-old kid, you've just bought that product, no shit. Awesome. Band-Aid, check this out. They launched this last year. Limited edition Muppet Series Band-Aid. You put it on your kid's owie, you swipe your smartphone over it, and suddenly the characters come to life, and kids forget about their owies. That's a brand, a physical brand, being digitally native. Incredible. And then you've got this, Toyota, genius. They understand that kids like to drive the back seat like their parents are. So they built an app that allows kids to drive the road, same contours that the parents are driving, but put in their language, cartoon. That's brand useful. Awesome. But there's also a revolution happening in ads. That's what we've been paying our careers for the last 25 years or so. This is how we pay rent as an industry. So thank God you guys are still buying media. But what we're trying to do is build advertising experiences to get passed on. That's the new. If you're going to be a burgeoning CMO in the future, that's it. And where it's headed, though, is this. Programmatic allows you to amplify your creativity. I've been in too many rooms the last 10 years as a creative looking at Excel spreadsheets to say this is how we should drive our business. Rubbish. We need to think about the creativity part of it. And programmatic business will allow you to do that. It is self-healing of ads. But we also have to understand that audiences are always going to be faster than advertising. So marketing always has to play catch up. And we're currently there at the moment. Because what we want to do is make sure people recommend our brands over advertising to our brands. But as an industry, we will change from generic advertising into influencer marketing. The power of social is too important. But what we'll also do in the meantime is think about how we can go from action ads. Today we have behavioral and retargeting, which is amazing, but we will move into an action and specific space. What do I mean by that? Something like this. If I go into Google and type in Adidas, what will pop up? Adidas store, check it out and think, okay, tab over to my social account, play with that for a while, and then, okay, whatever, I pick up my cell phone, minimize it, the browser, and head out to lunch. The path to purchase today is now destroyed until something like this happens. I get a direct response from the brand saying, Shingy, here's your Adidas kicks, here's turn-by-turn directions to the store, and here's a discount coupon to egg you on. This is coming. That's an action in specific space. Those who are still wondering whether Snapchat or Poke are going to be a fad are going to miss out. The day that Poke was launched, this was. This is an actual ad where this lady looks like she's getting changed in her lingerie. Somebody looks like she's taking a sneaky peek, so they slam the door, and what drops on the floor is one-time sale. Then she pokes it to all her friends. This is the ultimate one-to-one marketing communications strategy, but it's one-to-many. And guess what? If you think about Snapchat, there are 300 million images shared per day, and there's 40 million videos. So you'll be building not just 30s and 60s like TV commercials, you'll be building 6-second, highly disposable videos moving forward. So what about this? This is in environments where it becomes contagious. So if you look at something like Pinterest, where you could not have bought media previously, it didn't stop Uniglow. They went in and they registered several hundred accounts and timed the uploads from some assets. And what looks like a massive homepage takeover is actually just them going into environments and participating authentically. So what I'm saying to you is that while you're doing your paid media for scale, which is awesome, go into these environments like this and put your brand in the middle and participate authentically. That is where it leads to the truth of native advertising. And I think native advertising is a little naive, because at the moment we expect you to go think, how can native scale? Because every day you want to put your brand on another website, you have to do a different experience. Then you go to another media plan, you have to do another experience. It doesn't scale, so it's a little naive. But here's a good example of native advertising, though. Let me just show you this. This is Barbie's house for sale in Malibu for $25 million. And what's incredible about this, it's just like any other house targeted towards mothers who actually do the household spend on real estate. And then what did they do? They did supplementary paid advertising around it. That's one of the most amazing native advertising experiences I've ever seen, my dear friends. That's participating authentically and supplementing realistically with paid media. I love that experience. But what I prefer is, what are you doing with your brand harmony across the entire symphony of digital? Because none of us visit one media experience per day. We go through multiples over multiple platforms. So think about harmony over native. That's something that I want you to consider. Right, but I really love it when you think about your brand as an experience. Let me show you an example I love.
Oh my god. There you go. The microphone's on. I've got the rubber duck. You've got the rubber duck.
Oh my god!
Can I get in?
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Should we do some pictures?
All right, first things first, if you don't tear up, you're a hardened bastard. But secondly, David Beckham does not work for free. But in that 3-minute experience, every single second has a blatant Adidas logo. You guys can see it front and center, blatant, blatant, blatant. Versus something that could be potentially subtle like this.
Darling, please rescue me. Take me out.
Okay, this is Atomic Tom. They're on their way to a gig in upstate New York. They had their instruments stolen. They did an impromptu jam session on their phones. Somebody captured this on a smartphone, uploaded the video, and it took off. 2.7 million search results for an unknown band at the time. This was rumored to be a hoax seeded by Apple, but they never denied. It doesn't matter, my dear friends. We do something blatant as Beckham or something as subtle as this. If it's good content, people will pass it around. That's all I want to talk about. However, there's also something about transparency. Let me show you this piece. So, my dear friends, if you lean into negative connotation and you approach it with honesty, you can turn it into an amazing experience. And look at that, a 10 times return on what they actually did was something that was really flaming and bad. It's incredible if you are going to embrace that as transparency. For the last 15 minutes, I want to talk about some stuff about where we're headed. So here's the deal, dude. What's hot? Here is the new consumer. Today, the younger generation, the critic, the curator, they are the renegades. They're the Charlie Chapmans of our generation. They're the free thinkers, they're the extroverts, and they're the revolutionaries. They have more platforms, more tools, more expression engines than anything we've ever seen. And so what's amazing for us, it's all about being original. Something about us at AOL, 89%, almost 90% of the content we build in our business is all about original content. We lean into that. So this generation is something we believe in. So let me give you an example. While everybody was watching the Sochi Olympics over winter, I was watching the bloody Selfie Olympics. These are millions of kids running into their dorm room bathrooms and creating these incredible brand expression engines of themselves, just for the gift of being this selfie award. Isn't that amazing? And what's also incredible is that brands are embracing it. So all these selfies that we're uploading, you've got people like Zappos going through, trolling through your Instagrams and giving people styling advice. That's participating authentically. God knows I need it. So here's the deal, though. So the Gen X or Gen C, don't call them millennials. Gen C are this, dude. 72% say they're too busy. Fear of missing out. They also say they get most of their feeds from short content. Okay? But lastly, they're going to have the purse strings. By 2018, their spend is about $2.4 trillion. By 2025, they're going to be 75% of the workforce. So we have to embrace future marketing to embrace these ideals. Okay, what they're looking for is hyper-gratification. And hyper-gratification is going to come from gadgets like this. These are iBeacons. So once you see these, and these will come to you in the future marketing now, is that once you set into this circle of this iBeacon, they can now target you in location-based marketing. And it's going to be a much richer experience for that. But we'll see that being experimented because technology currently is lagging behind the iBeacon technology. And here's what's also interesting. Wearables. So wearables are becoming the future of how you're going to connect. And think about it, though. Today, it's limited to 2 wrists, 1 face. In fact, if I was to wear all the wearables I have, I look like a tribal leader, dude. It's unbelievable. But it's also like this. These are some of the wearables just launched this year alone. Incredible. This one in particular is interesting. This will check your atmospherics outside and tell you what SPF reading you should be wearing your sunscreen. Incredible. And you've got this. This is an analog watch called Martian, and it looks like analog. So as I look down here to pretend to look at my watch for the time, it actually has the ability to check your email, blah, blah. So it's a little bait and switch there. You've got this. I'm going to keep the sound off this. Actually, no, I'll put it on. It's kind of cool. But the reason I wanted to show you that is there's absolutely nothing Google can do to make that look cool. But there are other companies as well doing this. Here's one that got launched this year called Meta Pro. Check this out, dude. They've got their camera in dead center saying, we're not mucking around, dude. I'm coming right at you. And look at this thing. Check him, he's from the future. Brilliant wearable. Epson, bless them, check theirs out. They've got a cable attached to theirs. Woohoo! And that's their ad. Bless them. Right, but this is what's amazing. When the wearables get away from the wrist and the face, and they go to wearables that are actually attached to you like this is called Social Denim by Replay Jeans. There's a dongle in the pocket that you press to geolocate and check yourself in, and it tells your friends what your mood is because it has a biometric. And then we're also going to see multi-dimensional wearables like this. This is a wearable that you hook over your ear, so now you're connected by sound. Say you're retailing, for example. When you're not retailing, you take it off, swing it around, becomes a ring, but it has an LED screen on it, so you're still connected. Very cool. This is a snap-on biometric. So we've seen these before. We've had all the snap-on things that we've gone to parties with. You snap it around your beer and all that rubbish. This is actually a biometric you snap on. But it's also amazing because when you unsnap it, it becomes a tablet stylus. So we're going to see multi-purpose use cases for these wearables moving forward in the future. But all of them are going to have built-in intelligence. So you do not have to go seeking it out today. We go and search. It'll actually be pushed to you. So think about that in the revolution of marketing, is if you can actually push information to consumers while they're wearing these wearables, it's going to change the paradigm for future marketing, no doubt. All right. It's also going to be the advent of wearable web. It's going to be amazing. Another part of digital is 3D printing. People come up to you and say, hey, is it still going to be a thing? I'm like, oh, it's not a question, dude. The question you're going to ask yourself is what room are you going to put the bloody printer in? Because 3D is incredible. You don't have to just print in plastics. You can print in food. You can print in ceramics, in metals, etc. That's a piece of food. Look how incredibly beautiful that is, in sugar. So the quality of design that you're going to be able to produce in physical products moving forward with 3D are going to blow your mind. Look at this. This costs €1. In Europe, you can buy these icy poles, and look how beautiful that is. That's the advent of 3D printing can get us there. How do brands embrace it? When Coke launched a little mini can last year, they created a selfie booth. You go in and miniaturize yourself, and then you've got this trophy of the thing. And if you go to this is VW. They ran a design competition and said, we know you want to customize the outside of your car. How would you like the ultimate car to look? They ran a competition. And most people then would say, hey, here's an image of it. You can just socialize that crap on your digital space. Not good enough. They decided to print every single one of these off and send them to people. So they actually had a physical version of the car that they customized. The cost of that, the highest part of that would have been postage. I kid you not. Okay. Video will be everywhere. Not just on our devices looking up at us, but looking down on us, perhaps like this.
Face Deals is an automated check-in system using passive facial recognition to notify you of in-store deals that are customized just for you. Cameras have been developed to identify Face Deals participants in a matter of seconds. To get started, log into Facebook and grant Face Deals permission. Next, verify your likeness to complete your profile. When a face is confidently recognized, the deal is set into action. Face Deals dynamically optimizes your deal based on your Facebook-like history and delivers your customized deal to your mobile device, all while checking you in. It's that simple.
If that's not the creepiest thing you've ever seen, I don't know what is. So what we've got, man, we've got technologies out there in beta trying to target us as consumers with really interesting technology play. You guys are going to be able to create different type of creative that's not based on this. It's going to be more authentic. Because guess what? I think it's all about video. Here in the US, we're freaky on video, man. We love it, love it, love it. 90% of consumers online engage in video. In fact, we play through 82%. So when we hit the play button, we love to see the actual end of video. We don't walk away from it. It's pretty cool, man. It's very high. So we're the show me culture. Who would have thought that people could actually tell a story in 6 seconds? Who would have thought that? Or whatever you want to today to hold the attention of people. So you're no longer bound to 30s and 60s. If I look at something like the House of Cards, it's like a 13-hour beautiful brand integration. If you can hold somebody's attention for that, good on you, have at it. But if I look at something like Nike, check this out, 6 seconds. Basketball, soccer ball, boot release. Stunning. 6 seconds. Now, a lot of people, when they see me present, say, hey, man, all you do is show some of the most amazing brands across the planet and all that they do. And you just showcase their work. Not true, because this video turns up.
Oh, dear. Good. Wait. Good boy. Here. Good. Wait.
Turn on the ignition. Let's go. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good boy. Good boy.
Ride with me.
Good boy.
On the streets right now.
So, amen. Let's unpack it. This is a dog rescue company from New Zealand. And if you look at this, all they're trying to do is make sure dogs don't get killed. That's it. So they got up together with Minnie and said, hey, we think dogs are smart enough to drive. They did these 3 videos. Each of them are about 3 minutes each. So there's about 10 minutes of brand love that'll never be a 30-second TV commercial. You guys don't even give a shit what I'm saying. You just want to watch this damn video. Holy shit. All right, I need your attention, you little shits. No. Yes, it's awesome. Blah, blah. Yay. Let me tell you about, I'll tell you what I wanted to tell you before you got distracted. Here's what's amazing about that. That experience has been seen 100 million times. 100 million times. Imagine trying to do that with your TV ads, man. It's really hard. But guess what? The good news for you is that all the platform boundaries are blurred. Television, gaming, internet, mobile, they're all the same, man. It's just a different type of screen. But I think it's incredible to think about this. If you want to reach everybody, focus on the digital native. Because in the adoption curve, the first 15% are the ones that actually don't watch telly, newspaper, print, radio. They're doing everything face down in front of the screens. So if you target them, when you amplify to everyone else, they're the ones that are going to brag about your brand. What's also incredible is the business we're in is creatives. We're creatives that are now storytellers. And here's what's fascinating for me. I'm an artist. Red, blue, yellow are the three primary colors we use. Every painting in the universe has the starting those three colors. But when you're thinking digitally, these are just the three colors you need to think about before you dream up digitally. Technology, content, distribution. And it's a bit like this for me. This quote is from Albert Einstein. And what's also incredible about Albert is that, yes, he invented the quantum theory. That's a head scratcher. But he also was a classically trained violinist. I don't know how many of you know that. So what I'm encouraging you to do is exercise both sides of your brain. Both sides of your grey matter is now the expectation of what you need to be as a creative in this world of future digital. Because at the end of the day, make the path your path. You have to be empowered to be inspired and to stay curious because consumers are already there. And we heard passion as a word used earlier today. You need to do it with a passion and represent a brand with passion because if you don't, consumers see through it and then they can quickly move on. So I would charge you with this because if you don't do it, who knows the places you could go. And it's incredible to think about. If I think about Steve Jobs, he totally got it right. A lot of times people do not know what they want until you show them. So you have to be an engine of difference. And to do that, you need to be reactive. Instant message means instant response. You also need to be relevant. But you always have to be relevant and also react quickly. But then you have to be remarkable. And all those things are hard, man. But they're the opportunities to seize the environment that we are today. And to do it, you have to become an experience expert. You have to know the when, where, what, why, and how people are using and integrating these platforms. You can't sit back and let them take you over. You have to experience them. And at the heart of it is storytelling. At the heart of that is video. It tugs to the human heartstrings. Awesome. However, this is the bit that bothers me. We're a deeply connected generation right now, very heavily connected. But the real problem is, how can you actually use your brand and your future brand to make that connectedness that we have and turn it into a human connection? Because here's the deal. This is what you're competing against. This is the front cover of the New Yorker magazine from last year. This sums up the environment that we're in very well. It's not the brand you sit next to that you compete against. It's that. And by the way, when we're having a conversation and I pull out my phone and do this to you, most people get this reaction like, dude, what's going on? We're having a conversation. Pull your phone out like that on me? So I'm somewhere between pissed off and puzzled. So there's a new term. It's not mine. It's called pizzled. So when you're doing that, you're pizzling on people, which I think is really, really, really remarkable. So I encourage a remix culture in your brand and in your budgets. So you have to think about how you can actually do things differently and more can be less, or less can be more, I should say. Remix culture. Split your budgets up, have things that experiment, and have some that are ROI driven. You also need to find the right people. The power of the influencers is alive and well. Your videos are 7 times more likely to be shared if there's a celebrity in it. Oof, it is what it is. Harness the power of pre-existing communities. Don't try and build new ones. I would also give your brand up to consumers. Let them co-create. Look what happens when you put consumers in the middle of it. All they want to do is brag about themselves. Embrace these platforms that are out there. Give them a call. Find out what they're up to. Try and encourage your brand to be part of it. And lastly, you've got to learn to fail. And if you fail quickly and currently and fast and as often as you possibly can, you will get to succeed sooner. And pioneer when you actually fail, because that's how we get progress. Don't just copy stuff. That's absolutely no fun. But ultimately, we're in this industry because if you obey all the rules, you miss all the fun. Katharine Hepburn, that's the most amazing quote in the entire planet. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much for having me. Take care.